Welcome back to the Faith and Workout with yours truly, Anthony Knight. And like I say, every day, every morning, we're going to come with an inspirational reading. And this reading says, if your absence doesn't bother them, then your presence never meant anything to them. So kind of be aware of who you're around, because a lot of people can say that you mean a lot to them. But then once you are not around them, if it doesn't bother them, then you didn't mean as much to them as they say you did. Sometimes we want people to be who we want them to be instead of who they are. Before we get started, I want to send my condolences out to the Rouse family. Elijah Rouse, he was one of my classmates. I've been knowing him for probably 30 years now. He passed away this last week, and I want to send my condolences to his family, his friends, and to all those that were affected by his passing. Because, like I said, I've been knowing him for a long time. He was a good friend of mine. Even though we over the years we went our separate ways as far as path, but we always seemed to cross back at some point. And he was a police, so I spoke to him at Publix briefly, been some months back. But I just want to give my condolences out to him, his family, to all those around him that are affected, once again affected by his loss. And don't take that lightly, because your impact on people, even though you might not know them, it might be huge. And it's hard to find good friends and good people that you know, and that people that you can call a friend. And I consider him a friend. And like I say, you don't have to be around him every day. You might not talk to him every day. But when you see him, you're cordial, you joke, you laugh. And that's something that you might not want to take for granted, because there's no guarantee that tomorrow is promised to any of us. So I just wanted to say that before I got started. And I know his family is sorely impacted. But who family wouldn't? They lost a great man. They lost a good friend, good husband, good father. And it's devastating on so many stages. And I just want to say, hey, I'm with you. Whatever your family needs for me to do, I'll do it. And that's just how we should all be in times of mourning, in times of grief, because none of us can live this life without affecting somebody some way. It's just depending on what kind of impact that you do. And when nobody has anything bad to say about you, whether you're alive or dead, that shows you your worth. It shows you who you were. And I've never heard a bad word about him. And it's just, it's sad. And that's really nothing else I can say. There's nothing I'm going to say that's going to make any of his family members feel better, so I want him to try. I just say, hey, we with you, we here for you, and whatever you need us to do, we'll do. Right now, I'm going to spend this whole show on a topic that was extremely disturbing to me, and it should be disturbing to you. And it is so insensitive. It shows the lack of empathy and compassion by some people. And I don't know if y'all heard about this, about the officer that was caught on body cam laughing and joking over the death of a grad student struck by another cop. Now, I'm shocked. I was really shocked when I read this. It's disgusting. It is no place for this. And this Seattle police officer should have been fired immediately. There should be no investigation. There should be no nothing. When he walked in, he should have been terminated right then. No ifs and buts, maybe about it. But I will give you details on how this went. It says a Seattle Police Accountability Office is investigating an officer was recorded on his body cam joking over the death of a 23-year-old woman who was fatally struck by another officer who was responding to a call. Graduate students Johanova Condola, and I'm probably not saying it right, so you have to charge it to the heart, not to the head, was in a crosswalk the night of January 23rd when an officer struck her with his patrol SUV. Police said the officer, Kevin Dave, was driving 74 miles an hour moments before the collision. Now, I'm going to stop right there. Something I want everybody to pay attention to. This happened January 23rd, and we just not getting it. How did they hold this a secret? What was the news people at? Y'all always reporting foolishness that a politician does. But when it's a subject that matters, where's ABC? Where's NBC? Where's Fox News? Where's CNN? Why are we just not getting it now when this happened in January 23rd, months ago, and we just not catching wind of it? I know what Seattle, Washington is. I want to know why there was no news coverage over this. This was a young grad student who was about to graduate in December that was killed by a reckless cop who was running 74 miles an hour through a town, a crosswalk, and you killed this woman. Number one, you should never have been running that fast in a crosswalk in the first place. That's the first thing. I am disgusted with this thing, but I'm gonna read on. It says, before the collision, according to the Seattle Police Department investigation, reports provided to the King County Prosecuting Attorney Office, Dave was responding as an emergency medical technician to a priority 1 emergency called at the time, police say. Officer Daniel Artery responded to the scene to evaluate Dave and determined he did not show any signs of impairment, according to the investigating report. In newly released body camera footage, Artery can be heard discussing the incident while on the phone in his cruiser. He's going 50 miles an hour. That's not out of control. Number one, you telling a bold-faced lie because they showed you that the officer was going 74 miles an hour. This is how they cover stuff up. You make it look like it's the victim's fault when the victim had nothing to do with it. This was neglect and care and downright recklessness on that police officer running 74 miles an hour. And this lady was going across a crosswalk, and she had the right, and she had the right of way, and you ran over her. Okay, I'm trying not to go too far with it. Artery said during the phone call, which according to the video timestamp occurred on January 24th, almost 3 weeks later. The other person he's talking to cannot be heard during the call. After discussing whether she was in the crosswalk and how far she was thrown, Artery said, but she is dead, and laughed several seconds. Why is that funny? What's funny about that? That's a human life. I don't care what color she is. What's funny about that? What did you find that was hilarious about that? After this, but she is dead, and laughed several seconds later. Toward the end of the 2.5 minute video, Artery said, yeah, just write a check, followed by laughter. $11,000. She was 26 anyway. He said, Tainting Cadela's age, she had limited value. She was 28, or 26 rather. So you just write a check out for $11,000 because she had limited value. You are the most disgusting person I've ever seen, ever heard of. You're disgusting. And the person you're talking to is your president of the make sure I get this right because I don't want this to come back on me. He was the president of the organization he was in. I think Audrey was the vice president. So whoever he was talking to was in agreement with you because your comments showed that he didn't disagree. So you just let this young lady's life is worth $11,000. That's what you said. Okay. Your life is not even worth that. Your life is worthless. You a worthless piece of garbage. You are the most disgusting person I've ever seen, and you should not be in law enforcement. And why haven't y'all terminated him? Why haven't there been a news briefing saying he no longer works here? What are y'all freaking waiting for? You got him on tape laughing. There's no mistaking what he said. That was no accident. That was nothing. I don't want to hear this where you didn't know what the other person was saying. I don't need to know what the other person said. I know what you said. Then it said the Seattle Police Department on Monday released the footage saying the video was identified by a department employee who was concerned about the nature of the statement heard on the video and brought it to the chief's office. Well, I'm so glad somebody in that office had some dignity and freaking respect and was as disgusted about that video as I was. And I applaud them for coming forth and pointing this out to the chief that this behavior is unacceptable. Following a review of the video, the chief referred the matter to the police department independent office of the police accountability to determine any policy violation that might be implicated. Any policy violations? Really? So him mocking a dead woman, a woman that just been killed, putting a $11,000 value on her head, saying she had limited value. Y'all find that acceptable? That's acceptable to y'all? That's garbage. And y'all should be a freaking shame of y'allself. The chief, you had the authority to fire him. You should have fired him. But you want to pass the buck to somebody else because you didn't want your hands in it. You should be fired. Since you can't make a decision, you shouldn't even be working there. Because evidently you're incompetent too. The department released the video in the interest of transparency. No, you released it because you knew that was some heat finna come on you, and you tried to relinquish it early. Due to the public concern, but said it cannot comment on its substance pending the completion of the Officer of Police Accountability investigation. Seattle Police Department has been in touch with the family of the victim, pedestrians, and continues to honor their express request for privacy. The department said, as others in the accountability system proceed with their work, we again extend our deepest sympathy for this tragic lesson. I don't want to hear that foolishness. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. Audrey is the vice president of the Seattle Police Officer Guild, and he was talking to the president of the Seattle Police Officer Guild. So both of y'all had a good chuckle out of it. That was freaking funny to y'all, I assume. Y'all really had a real big laugh. Ha ha ha. According to the Seattle Community Police Commission, a citizen oversight board, ABC News did not immediately receive a response from the Seattle Police Officer Guild or Audrey to a request to comment on the video. They're not going to. There's nothing he can say. What are you going to say? It wasn't what it sounded like? That's what he going to say? The Seattle Community Police Commission co-chairs called the phone call heartbreaking and shockingly insensitive. That is the least you could call it. After Detective Audrey is heard confirming that the pedestrian dead, he is laughing in response to the person on the other end of the call. The co-chair, Rev. Harry Walding, Reverend Patricia Hunter, and Joe Meckel said in a statement he joked that her life was only worth $11,000 and had limited value. That's what he did. In what was believed to be a private conversation, Audrey showed unprofessionalism and inhumane conduct. The statement continued. Cordelia was from India and was working to earn a master's degree in information system from Northeastern University Seattle campus, where she died. Dave had his patrol SUV emergency lights on and sirens on at the time of the collision. So you didn't see her. According to an investigation report, a responding officer reported that Dave appeared to be visibly shaken at the scene. Lights were on, was chirping the siren, and I was headed down. She was in the crosswalk. She saw me. She started running through the crosswalk, slammed on my brakes. Instead of staying back where she could have been crossing, she just zips, David told the officer. So you want to blame her because you were speeding through a crosswalk. That just shows you how pathetic you are. You are just pathetic as the cop at Audrey, who was laughing. ABC News did not immediately receive a response from Dave to a message seeking comment on the case. The King County Prosecuting Attorney Office is conducting a criminal review of the incident to make any charges decision. The Office of Police Accountability is also investigating. Look here. The officer that killed her should be locked up. Audrey, who thought it was funny, should be locked up. And his president that he was talking to, that was over to Seattle, let's get to make sure we got this right. The Seattle community is in outrage, and they should be in outrage, because this was as pathetic as you can be. The officer is trying to blame her when you were speeding 74 miles an hour through a crosswalk, which I'm sure you shouldn't have been done that. That was nothing that you was going to, that you couldn't have been driving slower, that you couldn't have got there. The guy he was talking to once again was the president of the Seattle Police Officer Guild, and Audrey is the vice president. So they had a big laugh out of that. It was real funny to them that you just, innocent bystander was killed, and then the police officer who killed her had the audacity to say his siren was on, his lights was on. She should have stayed back. She should have did this. She should have did that. And let me tell you what you should have did. You shouldn't have been running 74 miles an hour through a crosswalk. That's what you shouldn't have been. Your job is to watch out for pedestrians. Just because you got your lights on, that means you can ride reckless through the town. Seattle would be one place I'll never visit, because that shows you they don't care about nobody. A pedestrian doesn't mean anything. And he said he's visually shaken. Well, what do you think her family is? You think her family is visually shaken? You went home to yours, she didn't. You're pathetic. Audrey is pathetic. The guy that killed her is pathetic. The Seattle police chief is pathetic. All y'all are clowns that tolerate this kind of behavior, and you do nothing about it. A life is worth $11,000 value because she had $11,000 because she had limited value. With her family, she had unlimited value. Your life is worth nothing to me. You are useless. You're garbage. You're pitiful. You're pathetic. And you're disgraceful. And how this happened 8 months ago, and why are we just now getting wind of it? Why did y'all hold this long? All those news outlets, nobody said nothing about it. I'm sure you knew. funny to you to put a price on a person's head. It's hilarious. Once again, shows you how pathetic they are over there. The chief tolerates this. He should not even be allowed to ever work in law enforcement a day in his life. That is so disappointing. That's really not words for it at this point. And then can you imagine, they showed the video of him laughing and mocking her to her mother. Can you imagine the pain that woman went through to hear what he said? And then he coming out later on and say, it looks bad. Oh, really? Looks bad, huh? Because it was. Her mother had to hear that, but he's laughing. He takes it as a joke. The president of the organization, he ain't taking it as a joke. I can listen to your response and about figure out what the guy on the other end was saying. Nobody's no fool. You thought it was funny. Well, would it be funny if we fired you? And you would never be able to get another law enforcement job, but you shouldn't have anyway. Neither one of y'all. The police, that kid that's running 74 miles an hour through the crosswalk, has no business running that fast through a town anyway. You should never be allowed. You should be locked up for reckless and dangerous. Normally those places are 35 miles an hour, 45 at the most, and you running 74, so you run almost 30 miles over the speed limit. You should be locked up. There's no words that I can even give you to even begin to describe how pitiful, how pathetic, how insensitive, the lack of empathy, the lack of compassion, the lack of human decency that this joker had. He showed delight in this woman's death. He showed pure delight. A lot of times there's some things I just don't know what to say a lot about. This is one. The one thing I'm really disappointed in is the news outlets. That they cover all this other foolishness. Somebody breaking a store, you'll cover that the same day. This woman gets killed 8 months ago and you just not coming up with it 7 months later. We got it last month. This happened in January. You showed you have there's no dignity in anybody that was involved in that situation. And this is not the first time he's talked like this. I can promise you that. This is the first time he's got caught. But he's talked like this before. That's some subject that I just don't even have no words for. I just be like, wow, that's just If he talked like that, and I'm not sure he knew his body cam was on. I'm so thankful it was, because now we can see right into him and what he's really about. So do they talk like this all the time? You just didn't get up this morning and decide you want to talk like this. This is something that you felt comfortable talking about, and you felt comfortable in the way you talked about it. So that's kind of giving me the impression that you done did this before. Then he said a cop that killed him was visually shaken. You wasn't that shaken when you tried to put all the blame on her, and you tried to relinquish yourself from any responsibility. any recklessness, anything of that nature. You wasn't that shook up. Everybody, both of them, the cop that killed him, Artery, and the president of the organization he was in, the Seattle Police Officer Guild, every last one of them should be fired and never work in any kind of law enforcement ever again. That's the first step. The second step, they should be, I know the one that killed him should be locked up. If that was any way that I could find a loophole to lock his behind up, all Dave Artery, I would do that too. If that was any way I could find to lock him up. If you're a lawyer, how can you defend him? That would be mind-boggling to me. How do you defend that? That disgusting. I don't know if you got enough money. If I was a defense attorney, I don't think you have enough money for I would defend you. Because sometimes your words and your text gives a person a read in your mind how you think. We know how he thinks. He expressed it clearly, and we know he have no. He don't value human life. This woman from India. I don't care where she's from. I don't care what color she is. She had just as much right to be here than anybody else. Seattle Police Department. This is a black eye for y'all. Because now everybody thinks all your police think that way. You didn't send a loud enough message when you heard this. You didn't send a loud enough message out. That this is not how we carry ourselves. But you did send a loud enough message that I don't want to deal with it, so I'm going to turn it over to somebody else. I'll say this once. I said it once. Excuse me, and I'm going to say it again. As soon as he walked in, he'd been terminated. No ifs, ands, buts about it. You know why I'm going to terminate him? Because I'm not going to give him a chance to throw his retirement. How about this? Why don't we take your retirement and give it to her family, since she wasn't valued, she had limited value. Well, his family had more value. I would sue the Seattle Police Department for everything they got. Everything. Because it seems like the only way you get to these people, if you hit them where it hurts, you break them. Because if you don't break them, it seems like they don't learn any lessons. There's no lessons learned. And that's the most disheartening thing, is they don't learn anything. They come out with some bogus statement about how sorry they are. They're not sorry. What they always saying, you're not sorry that you were stealing. You were sorry you got caught stealing. That's when you're sorry. You're never sorry until you get caught. Because if you were sorry, you wouldn't have did it in the first place. This woman was going to graduate in December. And instead of celebrating in the jubilation of her graduation, they got to bury her. Which they buried her in, I would imagine, in January. And I'm just so mind-boggled that why we didn't get this story until 7-8 months later. I don't understand this. And I know it wasn't in the news because I read the news. I keep up with everything that goes on in the news as much as I can. And I've never seen that. I've never seen that story until last month. So I don't really quite understand what was going on there. But I am glad there was somebody decent in the Seattle Police Department who monitored those cameras and found those comments very disturbing and brought it to everybody's attention. I am so glad that happened, because if it weren't for that, this probably would have never been even exposed. And they always come out saying, well, we did this because we wanted the public. No, you did it because you knew the public was going to find out anyway. So you tried to get ahead of it. That's what you did. Y'all cover up for y'all own. But then soon as police get in danger, we need to talk, we don't need to resort to violence. But you weren't saying that when y'all was doing it. Why are you saying it now? Because it's y'all that's on the receiving end of it. Every bad, corrupt cop need to be stripped of everything they got, kicked out, fired. They shouldn't be given the opportunity to resign because they still keep their benefits. They resign. They need to be terminated and lose all their benefits. That's how you break that. That's how you break the corruption in it. Well, this 30 minutes went by rather fast. Once again, I enjoyed it. I always do. My co-host will be back next week. He's on assignment, evidently. But once again, I want to give condolences to the Rouse family, Elijah Rouse. He was a Troy policeman that just recently passed away this week. We want to give condolences to him, his family, and friends. We also want to give condolences to this young lady who lost her family. I know we 7 months late, but we have to do it when we get it. And we'll be back next week with another version of the Faith and Workout with yours truly, Anthony Knight. 2 fingers. Peace.